I believe many of them have already joined in, and it's already 2 p.m., so it's time to get started with. A very good afternoon once again, everyone. So thank you all for joining in for today's webinar. It's a CPD session, and the topic is everything practice management. As you all know, we have covered this topic in the past, but how many other times we try doing this CPD topic? There's something that always seems new here. You could be practicing for several years together, but this particular topic never gets boring. Trust me, it's something that will help you in the long run. So these are definitely part of basics, but honestly, this is what forms the great foundation to your practice. So if you've all attended this previous session with us, it would be a good refresher middle of the year to see how you're doing. If you've not, well and good, this would be a great starting point for all of you. I recommend you to take a cup of tea or coffee or any hot drink, whatever you like. I just sip on a glass of hot water. I just recommend you to stay tuned, stay back there, hang in tight for next 1 hour. And I'm sure you'll find this super helpful. At any time, any chat, any questions, please feel free to enter it on the chat window, and we'll take it as it comes. So, all right. Now, as every other CPD session, there is a specific set of agenda for this one. And the agenda for today's topic goes as this. Starts off with professional obligations and various avenues in which you need to maintain professional obligations, may it be at client intake side or matter management or file management or the financial management, business management, and professional management, time management, and personal management. So I like to always go in a specific order. So I take the first 3 slides or first 3 topics here in the slide, super important. And of course, business management, professional management, time management, and personal management are equally important. But the weightage that you would see on this webinar today we'll be stressing more on the first 3 subtopics as part of today's agenda. Viewer number 16, sorry, I'll have to pause here. I'm not sure. You're asking for presentation. Sorry, you will need to, I think you're trying to log into audio, but I'm not sure. Viewer number 18, maybe you'll have to turn on your computer audio, please. Give me 1 second. Okay. Viewer number 21, can someone tell me if you're able to hear me well? Amelia from our team, are you able to tell me if you're able to hear me well? For the ones who are not able to hear me well, Amelia will be sharing the phone coordinates here for Join Me. I request all of you to use the phone audio. That way it'll be helpful. Great. Thank you. Yeah, some people have to really check their computer settings. So if you're using Mac, you have to allow the permission. The best way is to use the phone audio. Amelia will be sharing the phone audio coordinates on the chat window. Thank you. I'm going to proceed because it's a CPD. This is a good 90-minute. It's not a 60-minute today. It's a 90-minute webinar. We'll try and do as much as possible in this 90-minute. And you're entitled for 90 minutes of CPD credits. All right. Viewer number 16, I'm so sorry, I'll have to repeat this again, but you're constantly asking for presentation, as in the present webinar slides. I'm not sure what exactly you're asking. Amelia can reach out to you on your personal chat and check what you need. Please don't click on the present now button for now. Thank you, guys. All right, to continue with it, coming back to it, professional obligations and various avenues of practice management, everything practice management. That's why this topic is called everything practice management. as part of practice management, everything that you need to consider, right from the time you intake a client to the time you close the file and manage other things along with just the file management and financial management, which also includes business professional time and personal management. So these are some things that we're going to see today, and what are the professional obligations as a lawyer or a paralegal, as a legal professional that you'll have to fulfill in this due course. So as I said, I'll be starting off with client intake, service, and communication. Client intake, service, and communication in today's world, especially with everything going virtual, everything going online, everything becoming paperless, because there's so much that people have been through during COVID times and even before, with maintaining records, with not able to access them at every point in time. So now has come this era where people want to keep everything on cloud. People want to be able to access it from any point at anywhere. So in today's world, you will need a practice management software, which is cloud-based, for you to record all these details about your client, about the conversation, about their information. Could be their driving license, could be their client ID verification forms, could be anything, right from the time you do a conflict check, client intake conflict check, to the time you even investigate into the matter, finish the file, close the file, and move on. So there's several steps that's involved in here. Taking into consideration client intake, you start off with detailed conversation with the client, where you always make notes, you record them somewhere. Could be on a piece of paper, could be on the software that you're using, could be on notes that you're using as, maybe a notepad on your system, etc. But it's so important to have a detailed recording of calls and consultations, correspondences, email records, whatever you have with this client, and make sure you start off with the intake process by completing a conflict check. And once you complete the conflict check, you are 100% sure whether this client has a conflict or not. If you don't have any conflict with this client, you're happy to proceed further and create a new file. Now that's where the actual client intake takes place. So once you have the conflict check done, you're able to then determine whether this client is going to pay you a fee at the beginning, which is called a retainer fee, or if this client is going to pay you later into your general account, which is called client payment, which is only after you finish the work or the file, which is technically into the general account. Now, this is the phase where you will determine several things right from the time you start interacting with the client, the method you prefer, the method of communication, method of payment, and the style of payment, whether are you getting them in at the beginning, or are you getting them in installments, or are you getting them in the end. So determining collateral for fees and depositing retainers into trust accounts, if you are collecting them into the trust account, and providing them with a receipt. Absolutely necessary. A lot of us sometimes forget to provide receipts, but these receipts form as a piece of confirmation that you have received money into the trust account or general. There are both retainer receipts and general account receipts, so you can generate them according to which bank account you received the money into. And once you start off with this process, you will know whether this client is going to be engaging you for services or not, which is very first step, or at the maximum in the second step. Whether you're doing a conflict check or not, you know that if in case this client is not someone you're going to deal with for various reasons, I would suggest make sure to give them a non-engagement letter. So it's not always about engagement letter, engaging into services, or retainer letters, etc. So there's also equally two important things that you will like to keep in mind. Is one is providing a non-engagement letter at the time you know you're not going to take up the file or proceed with the file any further. And number two, there's something called closure letter, which is in a positive way. You close the file and, you're going to thank the client for giving you the opportunity to work with them. There's always important things about communication, service and communication with the client, which is what will bring them back to you, which is what will make them recommend you to their friends or colleagues or known people. So, which is referral, which is a big way you gain back more business, right? So coming back to it, one of the last points here in this page talks about providing non-engagement letters, which means when you're not engaging with any kind of services with this prospective client of yours, or providing them with a closure letter if you've successfully completed the work, right? Both forms part of, again, client intake, service, and communication. So making sure that you have presented all this to the client from time to time, all the documents are provided, conflict checks are done, fees is discussed, deposit retainers into trust account, and provide them with receipt. All right. So far, this is exactly what we had to discuss as part of client intake. And moving on, we have the retainer letters. Now, as part of retainer letters, we're still part of client intake, service, and communication. As part of retainer letters, what are some points that you want to remember while you're building it? You might be using a software which already provides you with retainer letters, or you might be using a software that allows you to edit or allows you to upload your own retainer letter. So you'd like to build your own retainer letter or modify it, etc. Whatever it is, making sure that you're creating a retainer agreement, and it should include the following points that you see here. For example, the responsibilities of client, nature and scope of the matter, course of representation, method of payments, method of communication. What if you're terminating the contract? And from both the sides, of course. And other confidentiality, client confidentiality information. Everything is entered in here in this agreement, because this is one of your first document that you exchange as part of client intake, service, and communication. Of course, you've already exchanged probably client intake, but that's not an agreement. That's technically only a document that you intake a client or onboard a client with. But retainer agreement is more like a binding factor between you and your client in terms of agreeing with upcoming responsibilities for the work. And this is where you have to be more extensive. At the same time, nobody wants to read pages together. So you want to have a retainer letter that is compliant, that has enough information. At the same time, you're not boring your client with pages by making them read pages together, right? So please keep in mind certain points if you're developing. Now, if you're using uLaw or any other tool, you will very clearly find retainer letters that's very crisp, to the point, have all the points that we have mentioned in here, and compliant with law society. And most important of all, you can also download it in Word and change it according to your requirements. I mean, of course, you have to make sure you abide with the law. Yeah. So that being said, let's say now you've completed the client's intake along with drafting the agreement, and you've moved on to collecting the retainer into your trust account and issued a receipt to the client. So far, so much has been done. Now, what happens next? You will create a file for this client, make sure they're chronologically organized, secured, and everything is electronically saved. Today, nothing, like I said, like those days, nothing goes on paper. Everything is totally virtually done, stored in cloud-based softwares, stored in maybe even other hard disks, email. Like I said, nobody even wants to keep any equipment now, storage in any equipment. So as long as it's on cloud, you can use it from anywhere. So feel free to uh, make a copy into your cloud for all of those documents that you're exchanging with your clients, or rather your client is exchanging with you. And once you have those done, keep a file checklist. Make sure you've added in all the necessary information in the checklist. You might want to create a checklist of your own, or you might want to use something that's available in the software. So use a checklist, at least that way you don't miss out on the basics of to do. And you're able to have a nice separate file for every matter you create for every client. And it's all chronologically secured and organized. And also it's having the cross-indexing number, etc. Now, as part of file management, now this is relatively a smaller topic when compared to client intake or let's say financial management. But trust me, file management is where you will have to lay more emphasis on having separate file numbers for each matter so it doesn't get confused. You don't get confused and add in the retainers into the wrong file or invoice a wrong client, vice versa. So you have to be super careful with preparing your own checklist, making sure you complete conflict checks, you are able to have a separate file for each client and respective matter. You're able to organize the files electronically, and you're also able to record all the interactions with the client. You have either you use the AI tool that's available in uLaw, or you use your own tool to record the communications. You are using probably a notepad pen, totally up to you, but making sure that you record all the interactions with the client as correspondence so that you can always get back and refer to it when it comes to a point in the future where you need some sort of evidence for everything that you've discussed with the client. And lastly, making sure that they're all in one place. So you're going to organize them into either a cloud storage system, either like Google Drive, OneDrive, and then you can connect it to your legal practice management, or you're going to follow the old school method of saving them in proper file documents. It's only up to you, but making sure all of these done in the first two stages is very important. Taking a quick pause for a minute to make sure that you've all gotten the details that you have to at the time of starting of this webinar. The topic for today's session is everything practice management. It's a 90-minute CPD session. I'm sorry, we have a slight error here that we shared earlier was 1 hour CPD, but you can claim 90-minute CPD credits here, professionalism credits only. So please make sure that you make a note, and you can use the attendance link here, and kindly ensure that you're getting yourself the 90-minute CPD credits. We don't provide substantiative hours. We only provide professionalism CPD hours. And just FYI, in future also, we would not be, as of now, be providing any substantiative CPD hours. So please make a note of this. I know there are a lot of regular attendees. For the ones who are new, I request you to take a minute to pause and take a look at all of these attendance links and other things that we enter on the chat window. And my teammate will be happy to assist you over the chats too. All right, quickly moving on to the next one, which is talking about financial management. Now, financial management plays a huge role, not only with accounting for the firm, but also accounting for the client and their matter. The trust payments that comes in and that needs to go out, you need to invoice, you need to trust us. So there's a whole bunch of it that's involved in here. Now, what are certain points that you can keep in mind in order to avoid making those errors, those commonly made errors? One thing I would always have on top of my mind is to determine your style of billing, your pattern of billing, whether you're flat rate biller or you're a billable time, style billing, and making sure that you have implemented it in all your records, making sure you've communicated it well and ahead to your client on the retainer letter, on the intake forms, while you're discussing with them, while you have any correspondence with them. So these all form part of the client intake, but still that is what is going to help you with a smooth financial management. So proper scheduling of fee, hourly rate or flat rate, billable time, record of timesheet, whether using calendar, scratchpad dockets, making sure you're able to add necessary information from time to time. And you also have client files and accounting system. All of these need to be prepared well ahead of your billing time so that while you're billing, you're not probably stuck there thinking, what should I do now? So there's always a smooth transition here from file management to financial management if you have already determined all this at the time of client intake. So once you have a prompt transmission of these records, then you're able to invoice the client. You can either do a billable time or a flat rate. You can invoice the client within the specified time. You're going to be able to invoice them, and then you're going to be able to share the invoice with them, either collect the payment into the general account or move the money from trust to the general. Now, once you have them done, then you move on to systematic tracking of overpayments, if anything. You would want to make sure nobody has paid you more into your general account, especially because this is where you have to play a role of being very vigilant with your transactions that takes place into the trust and general respectively. Today, we all have online access to your bank statements or bank transactions. Please log in bank every other week or every other end of the day. It doesn't really matter. It's only a matter of 2 seconds for you to log in. Today, everything is super easy online. So you want to make sure you log in, you have verified the balances. I hope there's no overpayments. If you find any overpayments, refund it back from the same account to the client with the note putting in there saying that your invoiced amount was X, but you were paid X plus $2 or X plus $3, whatever. For whatever reason, rounding off errors, rounding off amounts. Some people wouldn't notice, but it becomes a hindrance to you. It becomes a task for you where you will have to track those overpayments and make sure that you are not missing out on it. You are making sure that you are either refunding it to them or you bill them for that differential amount, like maybe a disbursement or additional legal fee for the rounded off amount. All right, so this is one of the simplest way how you could track your overpayments into your general account. And we are not very worried about overpayment into trust because trust is still client's money, which is still a liability to you. So you can always refund it from the trust account. So any overpayments into trust will really not bother you. But yes, of course, you're going to track any overpayment, whether it's into trust or general, and refund it back to them into their respective accounts. That's how it works. And moving on, you'll also be making sure that it's not always the receipts, but also the payments that goes out of your general account, your trust account. So what goes out of your trust account, you will need to record it from your trust into the respective software. You have to make sure that the retainer is entered, then the billing is done, then you move the retainer from trust to the general. So it's a withdrawal in trust, it's a deposit in general. You follow the same thing into whichever system you're using. And recording of general accounts, again, it's not just receipts, it's also disbursements, it's also client expense, office expenses, and other general disbursement journal entries that you would be doing. So making sure you also record them from time to time so that income minus expense, end of the day, you will know whether it's a profit or a loss. So you will also need to gauge your firm's health You'll need to prepare your financial statements. You'll also be needing to be ready with your compliance statements for all of these journals and ledgers that Law Society looking for. Most importantly, bank reconciliations. So in order to maintain all of these, you need to keep a track record of every single moment or activity in your respective bank accounts, whether the checks are canceled or whether a duplicate's issued, whether there's any sort of balance, differences in balance from your uLaw account to your bank account or vice versa. You will have to make sure that you're recording absolutely the necessary details to keep track of all the information of all clients, at the same time all payments that comes in and goes out. If you're able to do that, maintenance of original bank statements and other records, your reconciliation process is super simple, and you'll be able to keep a track record of all these documents, even if you're being audited. Let's say, for an example, you'll have to provide them with even your original bank statements. Your original bank statements could be, of course, in electronic format, doesn't matter, but they don't accept the CSV format or anything else. It needs to have the bank logo, and it has to be on your bank letterhead. So that is the meaning of original bank statements, right? And of course, you need to have a copy of every canceled check, duplicate deposit slips, and prepare the financial statements in such a way that you're compliant with Law Society, compliant with CRA regulations. At the same time, it helps you to gauge your firm's health very well. So you're able to know where you stand today at par with other legal professionals or even with your own firm, from what you were doing in the previous year to current year, so on and so forth. So you have so many factors that you can consider as part of financial management. And one of the important things that starts off with it is tracking your payments that comes in, goes out, and scheduling your billing, whether it's flat rate or billable time, making sure you have all the copies of invoices, receipts, disbursements, general receipts, etc. So once you have all of these, your financial management becomes a simpler task, and you're not literally behind thinking, when did I make this payment, to which vendor, or when did I receive this payment from which client. So it is not just one way. It's not single entry, it's all double entry. Today's bookkeeping is super, I understand it's super exhaustive, but you can make it happen if you're trying to follow all this that we discussed today, making sure you keep a tab of everything that we discussed today, right from the time you schedule your own fee rates, whether it's flat rate, billable time, to the time you're able to arrive at your firm's health. Now, that being said, financial management boils down to a point where it's all about reconciliation. And of course, the ledgers, journals, and other documents that auditor or Law Society will need. Eventually, of course, if you're being audited, or even these form part of the monthly compliances. So making sure that your trust account receives money that is only supposed to, and you have all the client information recorded in the system, and you'll add in the respective fee or retainer fee or other payment deposits under the respective client accounts, and the ledgers are automatically created. Now, if you're someone who's old school, who's still following the bookkeeping method using paper pen, then this is going to be slightly harder for you. I don't think these days anyone is using paper pen method, but yes, if you're still, then I would say it's high time you think about making a switch. And when you're considering setting up all of these, kindly make sure to enter all the information under the respective client's accounts, so you're able to generate these documents in no time. Right. So with regards to the monthly reconciliation documents, now forms of monthly reconciliation documents is typically what you had done in the financial management in the previous slide, like recording all the deposits, withdrawals, the systematic track of payments, and billing and trust transfers, etc. So these things are what will form part of your monthly reconciliation document. And in order to have hassle-free reconciliation, my humble recommendation would be is to record the transactions into your books of accounts on a regular basis. Could be daily, could be once in 2 days, or at the least once a week. The more the delay, the more that you're delaying the process of recording the transactions into your books, backdating it, you're going to either forget a lot of these entries. You're not sure whether you made it for client A or client B, or whether you have to raise an invoice for client C or client D. There's so much that goes behind just the monthly trust reconciliation and general reconciliations. It's not just always the numbers, but it's also the management of the file. So that's why it's called file management and financial management. So where there's a harmonized way of client management, file management, then the financial management automatically fits in there. You'll be able to do a trust reconciliation within few minutes, depending upon how much of your volume is. But trust me, if you're able to do a better file management and client management, your financial management is a cakewalk. So you're only going to be able to add in a few information here and there, and whatever is the missing entries or whatever is the outstanding withdrawals or outstanding receipts, you're going to be accordingly marking them, and you'll be able to complete the reconciliations on time. Now, if you fail to do it, yes, then you have certain things that you'll have to face. So there's trust reconciliation that needs to be done every month before 25th of the month for the previous month end. General is not mandatory like trust, but it doesn't mean that you won't be asked for general reconciliation statements while you're being audited. So even though it's not mandatory, like you have to reconcile the trust, because trust is client's money. So the Law Society would like to know how you're handling them, step by step, of course. But the general is also your money, has your money in it mostly. So you will have to be super careful about making the trust transfers, collecting the payment into the general, but at the same time, doing your reconciliations of your general accounts, so you're able to provide the reports to Law Society from time to time, and also prepare the financial statements to gauge firm's health. As part of business management, I'm just going to take a quick pause to see if any of you have any questions. Don't seem to see any questions, but I hope all of you are following me, following our links, following the topic names. Everything is being entered in our chat window. Any questions at any time, please feel free to enter it in the chat window, and I'll be taking it as it goes by. All right, so the next one is business management. Now, you've mastered, let's say, client management, file management, even financial management. Now, how is all this possible? Not without a business management, definitely. So the next few slides talks about how efficiently you can manage your business, you can manage your time, you can manage your professional obligations alongside with your files, with your matters, with your clients, etc. Definitely a well-established software, efficient for your legal practice, important, making sure that they're compliant with law society. At the same time, they are not making you spend too much time. So the efficient use of a reputed legal software could be uLaw, could be anything else. But yes, uLaw does give you, because I'm representing uLaw, I'm letting you all know, uLaw does a lot of things for you. Right from the time providing you conflict checks for the compliances to the time providing you with financial documents for financial management of compliances that you need to take care of. So software, good software recommended, followed by security, high security, because you have your client's data in it. You want to make sure there are regular backups, there's regular maintenance, secured file maintenance, robust mobile devices being used. So you're also not having too much of these security issues. Hacking and other things have become super common these days. So you want to make sure you have all sort of secured devices that you're using. And last but not the least, ability to connect from anywhere in this world. So you're able to remotely access emails, voice messages, and you're able to take care of all the required actions that you will have to in order to keep yourself efficiently managing your business, your clients, your files, at the same time being compliant with law society. Last but not the least, you're always ready to make the move for keeping yourself not just compliant with law society, but also with CRA and other regulatory authorities. So business management doesn't stop with just law society compliances, but it tells you what all things that you can do to keep yourself compliant, at the same time also grow your business. Now, the next part of today's topic is professional management. As you all may know, which is currently happening today, you're required to complete a certain number of CPD hours, so making sure that you have that as the top of the list. uLaw does provide CPD every alternate week, so it totally depends on the CPD topic for the number of hours. Mostly everything is a 1 hour of CPD credit, but just today's topic is entitled for 90 minutes of CPD credits. Along with membership for professional associations, making sure you're making those membership fee from time to time, reviewing the recent legislations, case laws, and professional code of conduct. You're able to understand what is the necessity for you to take some actions right now in order to fulfill, could be your client, could be the authorities, could be yourself, but making sure you're professionally obligated, you're professionally compliant with all of these regulatory authorities. The next one is personal management. Nothing comes easy. Nothing comes without management of your personal time alongside with your professional. So making sure you're super satisfied with whatever you're doing is key to the success. I feel that if you're not satisfied as part of your growth process, this success is not going to look fruitful to you. So making sure that you are satisfied with the entire process of legal practice and the growth, which will in turn provide you the financial success to your practice, which is what we're all thriving for today. Of course, the other factors contribute to it, but yes, completely being successful is about the numbers ultimately. So recording of your time that you spend at work, at vacation, ensuring you have a nice work-life balance, And today's world, people talk about so many things in open, like stress management and, de-stressing. You're going through so much that today's world can be harmful. So make sure you make the right choices, right decisions. Could be taking a break every few months now, could be, having your own space to do certain things in life, provides you that work-life balance. And eventually that will enhance your work culture, your work speed, your work efficiency, and which will also lead to financial success in the end. Now, all of this at what cost? Now, we spoke about client management, file management, financial management, time management, professional management, and we also had taken a look at personal management. So all of these being said, what are the benefits of a practice management? What do I gain out of using a practice management? In due course, yes, eventually, not immediately, but eventually you will start feeling the benefits, and of which one of them is total cost to the ownership. So you might be spending today towards a program like uLaw, but trust me, in a long run, you will start feeling that you have reduced so much on the overheads. You've reduced on having number of employees, and this program allows you to do a lot of things on your own, which will significantly reduce your numbers from the cost side and increase your profit. So total cost of ownership, efficiency in practice, like I said, you'll be able to maximize the efficiency with all the automated tools today, automated features today, and saving you more time, which you can actually put towards your legal work, which is your bread and butter, right? So which is where you actually have to work more. And practice management is only a part of your practice. So try to keep in mind that you are not spending more time using a practice management than your actual legal work. So this is where that time management plays a huge role, and also the the proficiency in all that you're trying to do to get to the maximizing efficiency over here. And the next one is, of course, keeping yourself compliant with the law societies. Mostly, when you're choosing your practice management, make sure it's compliant with the respective law society of your province. And last but not the least, keep in mind you have to practice from anywhere. It cannot, it should not be stuck to one desktop, and one fine day you wake up and you're not able to go back to your office and access that desktop. I remember what happened for all of us sometime in 2020, March, April. I think one fine day I got a call from my office saying that, hey, so this is not happening. You guys are in lockdown. We cannot come to office. So anybody who had their systems, their desktops in their workplace, would not have been able to go back to work. So they'll have probably had shipped the system. Until then, they had to wait. There's so much things that I'm just saying for an example. So it is important in your case to be able to practice from anywhere. With most of the practice management systems today, it's all about cloud technology. You're able to practice from anywhere. You're able to access your files from anywhere and on any device. It doesn't have to necessarily be. You might be sitting in your home office and trying to access files, so you don't have to literally have yourself go back to your office and bring your files with you or whatever. So making sure that you can practice from anywhere and access the files from even out of office and any device. But mostly this is where the robust security devices comes into play. So making sure that you're following all those ethics of security as it comprises of your client information. Now, that's about benefits of practice management. Quickly taking a pause to see if I have any questions. Surprising to see not many questions here. I'm either hoping being too clear so far, or if it's not something that you're all looking forward to. I hope I'm doing my best. If you have any questions at any point in time, feel free to put it on the chat window, and I'll be happy to take it at the end of the session. Moving on to the next one here. Of course, we've already discussed about file management, matter management, but managing your daily operations is something as part of, client intake, matter management, and financial management, everything put together. So somebody asked me, how can I keep a track of what are the things that I need to do on a daily basis? Now, this is a slide I would say you'll have to keep in mind on your daily operations side. I don't know if you're using uLaw. If you're using uLaw, you are well and good. You just have to make sure you're adding your clients, you're organizing them well into the respective folders, you're doing the conflict checks, you're opening the file, you're managing all their dockets, whether it's billable time or flat rate. You're adding the disbursements and retainers respectively into the respective tabs. You're raising invoices for the billable time or the flat rate dockets. And then if there's retainer in the trust, you transfer the money from trust to the general, or you directly collect the money into the general account, which is where the matter status updating comes into play, whether you are going to continue using this file, whether you're continuing work on this file rather, or if you're done with the file by invoicing, by creating a final invoice and emailing it to the client and sending them a closure letter along with it to let them know that the file is done, the work is done, and this is the final amount that they owe you, along with a closure letter saying thank you for taking our services, we look forward to your referral, or we look forward to having you back, etc. So matter status has to be updated from time to time as you progress with the matter. You're either active on the file, or whether you're done with the file, or whether you're probably you want to archive the file, whatever it is. So making sure you enter all of this, and you proceed with generating all those necessary documents in a matter that you will need for your compliances, and it's available for you in a single click button, but making sure you are recording all the information is super important. That would get you to matter management without any hassle. And the next one being over here, the matter analytics. So measuring the health of the business, whether is there any room for improvement? Are you able to understand the state of your business? What are the pending invoices? Is there any outstanding? Do you have any pending trust transfers? Have you moved it from trust to the general, so on and so forth? So these are some things that you will have to start analyzing so that the reports are readily available for you once you've made the entries or the transactions. But what you want to do with the report is something you will have to take a call. And for that, matter analytics play a huge role. You're able to understand where you stand in your practice. Is there any aging analysis to be done? Are there any invoices that needs to be paid back to you? Any pending trust transfers? Any pending invoices? Have you entered dockets but you've missed to raise an invoice? Have you raised an invoice? You have money in trust, but have you missed to transfer the money from trust to the general? And lastly, whether there's any outstanding that the client owes you into your general account. All of these form part of measuring your business improvement, so that you spend a little bit time in matter analytics. These are matter related, of course, financial related too, but pertaining to each matter. And if you're a sole practitioner, even more difficult, where you will have to understand what has been the trend of your business in the past few months, and then how you can improve it in the future. You have to make sure that these matter analytics empowers your law office with all of these data that you are able to provide to either law society or to yourself to analyze and improvise your business. Lastly, these data that you have presented in analytics, that could be in form of, documents, form of graphs, in form of, pictures, whatever. Your practice, numbers ultimately, everything is numbers that it boils down to. Your practice, you'll be able to take it to the next level and have the knowledge that you can to have a bigger firm eventually. Right? As part of matter analytics, it's important that you have a tab on what is happening, what has happened rather in the past, and what is happening now currently, and what can you do to better your future. I know we discussed about time management a few minutes ago. As part of time management, calendaring is one of the important things that you have to keep in mind. Today's busy world, we're all having a personal calendar or an official calendar. You might have a calendar for your children. You might have a calendar for yourself, your family calendars. There's so many calendars that we all try to keep tab of. And then sometimes we lose track of time. We lose, we're not too sure. So this is where syncing of your personal calendar plays a role. In uLaw, you can sync your Google Calendar. We don't have it yet for Outlook, but yes, you can sync your Google Calendar, you can sync your personal calendar and have both your calendars in one place, so that way you're not missing out on either your personal stuff or your official stuff. And you can modify your view accordingly, daily view, weekly view, agenda, and making sure all your dockets are being, all your matter dockets are there in calendar if there's anything that has data that needs to be gone under the matter, like could be something to do with hourly billing or something for a client call or for a conversation correspondence. And the next one is, of course, you're able to view all of these from time to time with a daily view, monthly view, and weekly view. And having organized forms. So we've spoken about right from client intake, financial file management to financial management, matter management, analytics, calendaring, so on and so forth. But now, where do you consume more time? Analyze that part and try to bring that down. Like, of course, if you're consuming more time towards your legal work, you'll obviously be enhancing it as you gain more expertise, knowledge in it. But if this is something to do with your practice management side of it, which is non-legal work, now here you can start tweaking in a little, practices that would help you to save time by maybe you're using code forms, you're using templates, you're using law society documents, legal aid documents. You're not sitting and wasting time trying to prepare all of this yourself when there's a software that's really throwing you all these documents, which is inbuilt and saves you all time pre-populating all clients' information. So do try out. If you're, again, a uLaw user, you can check out how it works. I would definitely take a few minutes to show you all how it works. And end of the day, when it comes to a point, what's going to happen now that I have really maintained my files, my accounts, my matters, my time, everything. Obviously, there's more seamless accounting that you're going to see. Your that hassle that we spoke about, having to remember what transaction you did about a month ago or 2 months ago, that is first gone. You're able to have a seamless integrated accounting that Practices Finance provides you with powerful analytical tool and reporting tool. So you're able to not only provide documents for your accounting, for CRA, for Law Society, but you're also able to do the compliances reporting for ease of your audit. Eventually, it gets to a point where you only want to make sure that you're audit ready during all days of the year. That is the level of practice that you'll have to achieve eventually. We've already seen other things, so I'm going to take a quick pause here to switch to show you all how we can utilize this in uLaw. I know many of you wouldn't have been prepared for the 90 minutes, but I request you all to stay back for another 15 minutes to see how everything works in uLaw. Please do let me know if you are having any queries. At this point in time, I'd love to take some queries before I switch so that I can show you all what you're needing to see. But this is what I'm going to show you all today. Now, this is uLaw's Playground account, and you're technically going to see me do a client intake, service communication, and also matter management, better matter management with regards to all the filing documents that's available in there, and calendaring and accounting too. Now, at the point of start, let's say you all have uLaw, and there's a set of things that you might follow. You might have a client portal. You might have to do it manually, or you might have to send a client intake form to your client simply by clicking on document generation and click on one of these client forms, intake forms, and send it to the client. So there could be one of these that you're using, and whatever that you're using, let's say you're clicking on client, add new client. Let's say you want to make sure you're completely compliant with Law Society by entering all the information about the client. You have someone reached out to you through internet advertising. You're adding in the address. You want to make sure this client is aware of all the information that they've provided is to the knowledge. They've provided you with the driving licenses. You want to record the conversation, first few correspondence with the client, and you can have them in the notes. You can put in the phone number, email, other addresses, website, etc. Now, once you proceed further, your immediate thought that should come to your mind is how much compliant I am with client intake, service, and communication at this point. At this point, yes, you have entered source of contact, but what about other things? Have you done your conflict check? So please go ahead, carry on with the conflict check. Proceed, do that. Then you will want to click on document generation compliance tab to make sure you've also downloaded source of contact. Maybe I will take source of contact today. You'll see I would have added a couple of clients in there, but maybe one of them would have internet advertising, one of them would not have anything categorized, or if I've added only one and I've categorized well, I'm 100% compliant with Law Society as of today. With the client intake perspective. Then you go back, make sure everything is good here. When you open a file, We spoke about things like cross-indexing, having all the information about the client recorded, organized, etc. So all of these forms part of file management and matter management, which is where you're going to give a file title. Let's say this is a child custody. Maybe it's family law. You have a file number. You want to enter a matter description. You want to put in your file number here. Cross-indexing comes up here. Maybe this is something where you can enhance your, compliances standards. You can enter in you're going to determine whether it's a flat fee, it's a billable time. All of these things happen at this moment, at this stage, before you hit save. Okay, so you provide your rates, your assistance rates, everything good here. And then you proceed further. And here, there's a compliance tab. So first thing you would do as a file management, from a file management perspective, is to make sure you have all of these downloaded. Mostly, go by the order, intake of clients. Then when you reach a quarter, the file is still on. What are the documents I have to provide the client with? Download them. Then there's something called other, where you might provide non-engagement, you might provide closing letter. You want to do whatever it is at the right time, not at the very beginning, not at the very end, not after the file, 6 months after the file is closed. So making sure all of this is done from time to time, and you're following all the Law Society regulations and compliances that is readily available. So let's say I want to do a retainer letter. You're going to download a retainer letter, provide a request form, and send it to the client and ask them to pay you for that amount. So you're all able to understand this at this point, that you're compliant with Law Society. At the same time, you've determined the fee and scheduling. You've included all the points that a retainer letter should have without making any efforts, obviously, because uLaw has taken that effort to give you a templatized document that you can follow for Law Society compliances. As you proceed further, you know that you'll have to collect the payments. Then you collect the payments into the respective tab. When you're collecting the payment into the trust or the general, the method of payment, the reference numbers, this is where the cross-indexing, and we also spoke about tracking of any overpayments and other things. Everything falls into place over here. So please make sure you provide enough details as possible. The date, the amount, the method of payment, reference number, so that you can go back and cross-verify with your bank records. Provide a receipt upon collecting a payment. Very important. Again, with just a small check box beside cancel that you'll have to click in uLaw, you'll have the template, the receipt that comes up with no time. So you're super, simple to provide all this to the clients within no time. Then you go back in there, start docketing whether you're going to do a billable time, legal fee, then, or whether you're going to do flat rate. Whether you did a client intake, then I did a billable time over here, or you did a flat rate, whatever it is, provide the description. You can use record option, speaking to the mic. You can use AI tool to correct your grammar, make a note, make summary, whatever it is. And improve your efficiency by using all of these tools that's readily available. Save them in and click on invoice to complete the invoice. If you're super confident, go ahead and complete it. If not, do a preview. Okay, now I'm going to save a little bit of time. So I want to do both dockets and disbursements. I want to do a different theme. So all of these are readily available. I'm only going to do dockets. Yes, there's no disbursements in this case, just to save time here for you guys, and download it. As you're all seeing here, so far I've covered so many steps that we've discussed within a span of 5 minutes, literally, right? So within a span of 5 minutes, I was able to show you all the documents that comes up with conflict check as part of the client management, source of contact, compliance for client management, retainer letter, again, part of client service communication, and matter file management, retainer receipt, part of file management and financial management, invoicing as part of, again, file management and financial management, so that you're communicating to the client the retainer amount received and the services provided and the due or balance that they owe you. Then you go back into the program. You can take necessary actions that you have to fulfill your financial management. Again, you're going to follow what happened in your bank. If in your bank you've transferred the money from Trustee General, please feel free to come here, do that from time to time. You're going to not do it here first, but you're going to do it in the bank. Then you're going to do it in uLaw. It should kind of happen simultaneously, I would say, when you're having that tab open, sending funds from Trustee General, have uLaw tab open immediately, enter the date, the reference number, and you're going to hit transfer and download a Form 9A. Again, all of these are available for you within finger clicks of action. So you have to make sure you do them all easily. And once you do that, then you'll be able to provide all these forms again to Law Society, to the auditor, for your own records, to some to the client, and so on. Now, when you come to accounts, when you go into your pool trust account, you're going to see a couple of transactions of that $500 that came into Isabella Josh and the $500 that went out of her account after completing the trust transfer. Now, this is where the compliance for financial management plays a role. So you're going to click on compliance, monthly compliance. If you want to look at the client's trust, let's say just today, you can download and see what happened in uLaw for today, the client's account. So you received the 500, you trust transfer that 500, as simple as that. When you go into the general, you're going to click on client's general. Let's say today again, you're going to see what happened in there. You're going to see that a 500 was, you've invoiced for 734 and a 500 was transferred. There's a 234 balance owing from the client. Now, let's say you go back into seeing that, you're reminded that the client owes you that money. So you go back into the matter, you click on question mark, you've sent a reminder to the client. Let's say they've paid you today. You click on payments, get the money into your general account within no time because you've completed the work. You're no more obliged to bring that money into your trust account. So you can happily bring it into the general and give them an other receipt for the money that they paid you into the general. Last but not the least, the matter is done now. You have done invoicing. You have done, you've given the payments. You've given the receipts, respective receipts to the client. Your work with the client is done. Projected balance has come to 0. You're completed with it. Now, the next thing you want to do is send them a closing letter and make sure that everything is done here, like you're done with them, done, like that. So this is where you need to make sure you want to add in your additional comments. These are fillable PDFs, so feel free to do that. Send it to the client, file a copy in the physical file, and move on. Lastly, when you go back into accounts, you will click on compliance, monthly compliance. I want to show you guys one more time the client's general because this time I have settled the 234.50. Rather, your client has settled, and I've entered it in here. And you see the amount balance is 0. So 734.50 was the invoice raised. And trust transfer was so much, client payment was so much. Let's say you go back in there, you click on this previous one that I downloaded, you see it was showing a balance of 234.50. All right. Now, besides that, I think we are just left with calendaring here for all of you. Now, calendaring is something that we already discussed what can be done. So this syncing into your Google Calendars, you could use Scratchpad for daily dockets to save time, to add in all your dockets into the matter directly. You could use Action to review your employees' time spent, your service communication, and other things that forms part of client revenue summary, which can also be part of the timesheet. So making sure you have all those necessary tools that is related to enhance your analytics and enhance your time management is important at this point in time, apart from just the client file matter management or financial management. Please provide a little bit importance to your calendaring, calendar time management, and business management, professional management, and personal management. So these are some things that we wanted to show you today as part of the webinar. This program allows you to use all of these that we discussed from Everything Practice Management. So you know now that right from the time you create a client to all that you have to be making sure to keep yourself compliant, to the time you manage a matter, to the time you do their finances, and of course, managing your time and analytic-wise, knowing where you stand, knowing where you are at the time of last year versus this year. Maybe you want to do a profit for quarterly versus monthly, and make sure what you've done to the previous quarter to current quarter or the year, or you can even do your comparisons appropriately. Now, right from client intake, service communication to analytics, everything that uLaw has is going to only help you improvise your business health and the time management to only make you better with the practice. So overall practice, you have a better hands-on with your practice. Everything practice management is something that is going to help you to keep yourself on par with what is happening in your business today. You are not left behind. It's not something that you have to panic about going back and updating your records. So try and do the updates from time to time. So that will help you to be on par or at par with what your bank statements are showing. And that would internally help you to grow better, get better with whatever you're doing in terms of your practice. And yeah, I think when someone follows all that we've discussed today in the past 75 minutes to 80 minutes, I think that's mostly what is required for your practice day in, day out. So do remember to make sure to use a practice management software that will enhance your business or your practice and help you do all that we discussed today from time to time, so that you're able to complete all your professional obligations and adhere to the standards that is provided by Law Society. Thank you all for joining in for today's webinar. And we have some announcements to make, but just to keep the recording short and sweet for others who are going to enjoy the 90-minute webinar, I'd like to turn off the recording. But if you all have any questions, you're welcome to enter it on the chat window, and we'll be taking the questions here. Thank you.